What's up, Barnhill family, and welcome back to your home for all things combat sports. We got a big one this weekend, Nick. We got Islam Makhachev versus Alexander Volkanovski. As far as I see it, this is the best fight that could be made in the UFC right now, and I'm super stoked for it.
Me too. It feels like it's been quite some time since we had that big fight feel in the air. Such a rare fight. You've got pound for pound #1 versus pound for pound #2, and I know Islam just recently got into that list, but it's well deserved. Everybody knows he's one of the best fighters on the planet, and Volkanovski has proven himself time and time again. And right now he's doing what Israel Adesanya likes to refer to as daring to be great. He's going up to the most difficult division to take on the most dominant guy they've seen since Team Khabib had Khabib in there. And I can't wait for this one. I feel like Perth is going to be rocking and rolling, and this just seems like it's going to be an epic fight night.
Definitely, and it's worth noting that this is going to be a very pro-Volkanovski crowd because Islam has done a lot of fights in Abu Dhabi, and even though they're not from that area of the world, they have a massive fan base there. So watching Islam walk into an arena with sort of enemy territory will be interesting to see. And daring to be great is the perfect way to phrase it. I love that Izzy coined that phrase, and now his teammates getting an opportunity to do the same thing. We've seen champs before, Conor McGregor, Daniel Cormier, Amanda Nunes, but in my opinion, if Alexander Volkanovski can do the unthinkable and defeat Islam Makhachev, this will be the most impressive champ run that we've ever seen. One, because of the domination that he has had at 145, and then two, because of the level of opponent in Islam Makhachev that he's facing and all of the challenges that come with a fighter like Makhachev. So we got to get into the predictions of this fight, but I think it's worth noting just how big of a fight this truly is.
It's going to be massive. And I think Islam Makhachev and Team Khabib planned this perfectly. They understand just how good they are. And one thing they like to do is up the stakes against themselves. So the fact that they called for this fight against Volkanovski literally in the octagon right after Islam got his belt, and they said they want to do it in Australia, go all the way down to Perth where he's most comfortable in front of all of his fans and all the screaming Australians that are going to be a very pro-Volk crowd. They just want to up the stakes, up the ante, and put a little bit more pressure on themselves, which is a whole lot different than fighting in Abu Dhabi where it's a very pro-Islam crowd. There's still a few things that need to be answered. Like, you know, I don't know if for a fact Khabib's going to be in the corner, if that's going to change Islam's mindset at all. And also, is Volkanovski going to be able to handle the extra pressure? You know, when you move up a weight class, you're expected to lose, and he is the underdog right now. But when you're fighting in front of your hometown, it kind of feels like you have to put on a show. You kind of have to rise to the occasion. So I think even though the pressure for a split second was off of Volkanovski, the fact that it's in Australia puts the pressure right back on him.
Yeah, for sure. And when you look at this fight from just an X's and O's perspective, Islam covers all of the bases, right? He's bigger, he's stronger, he's extremely talented on the ground. It's very difficult if he takes you down to get up, and most of the time you actually end up getting finished. But then you look at Volkanovski, and he's one of the most dynamic strikers in the UFC. He does have some pop in his shots. He's got great cardio. We know that Volkanovski can hit with the same power and velocity at minute 25 as he can at minute 1. He's very creative at moving in and out, and he's very elusive, which should theoretically be something difficult for Islam to try to mitigate. So I see why the odds makers have this. I think it's sort of a 3-to-1 for Islam right now, but I don't think we can discount Volkanovski. And while I am leaning towards and going to pick Islam to win this fight, I don't think it's going to be as easy as a lot of people are making it out to be. I think Volkanovski is going to be a formidable opponent. I think he's going to be hard to keep down. He said in the build-up to this fight, we have not done a single thing in training camp that wasn't related to something that Islam Makhachev is going to do to me in the cage. We weren't just hitting pads for hitting pads' sake. We weren't just doing things that I would see against the Korean Zombie or against Max Holloway. No, we're going in there with great wrestlers, with people who fight like him. They're holding me down. They're trying to keep me down. They're locking my legs, as Khabib and Islam know how to do. They're putting him in that, quote, patented Dagestani handcuff and making him get out of it. He said this camp, and whether it was a good idea or a bad idea is yet to be determined, but this camp was all about specifics for Makhachev.
Yeah, and if we get into the official predictions, I'm going with Islam Makhachev, and I'm even going by finish. But I do think there's a little bit of posturing going on in the buildup of this fight. You know, Islam's coming out saying, I want to be the guy to knock out Volkanovski. I want to go in there and finish him, because everybody thinks all I'm going to do is go in there, take him down, wrestle him, and do what we do every time. But he wants to go out and make a statement, knock him out. And then Volkanovski comes out and says, all we've been doing is preparing for him for these specific positions. And while that's very smart to do, and you must do it, you also can't avoid what you do best, what you game plan for every time you go out there. And Volkanovski is one of the best at implementing a game plan. And, you know, with his coaches, with his corner, the people that have been helping him along the way on his UFC career, they've really figured out how to make a lights out game plan for Volkanovski. And he knows how to make it happen exactly down to the round and even down to the exchanges, how to win those moments. For me, that's very impressive and very important for Volkanovski. If he wants a chance at winning, he has to do what Volkanovski does best, not take away what Islam does best. Islam's going to be good. He's going to get you to the ground. The fact is, you got to get up when that happens, but at the same time, you can't let that happen. As few times as you can get taken down, you have to do that. And I know that you've got all the best grappling minds, you know, helping you get ready for this fight, but at the same time, you've got to go out there and fight your fight. If you go out there and try to do anti-Islam, you're going to wind up doing something that you've never done before. And I think it's better to go in with the experience of a flawless game plan, figuring out what you can do best with your team and making that happen rather than going to try to do something you've never done before.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And I think if Volkanovski is to win and pull off the upset here, it has to happen one of two ways. One, he has to knock Islam out. He has to come out right out of the gate with the crowd behind him and try to land something big early and shock the world. I think the likelihood of that happening is pretty small, but that is one path to victory for Volkanovski. The other path to victory would be to fight a 25-minute perfect fight, which he's shown us 3 times against Max Holloway that he's very capable of doing. You know, Max is known as the guy that's impossible to put away. So how do you beat a guy that's impossible to put away? You fight the perfect fight against him, and Volkanovski has done that 3 times over. So that kind of forces him to be smart and calculated with every exchange. He has to work those inside and outside leg kicks, but not go too high up on the leg, because if he goes with a high quad kick, Islam's going to catch it and make him pay. He needs to work the calf kick. He works it very well, both inside and outside. He needs to move laterally like he does so well, and he needs to land some punches and bunches. And I think if he does that and can be elusive enough, and then on top of that, I give it only 3 takedowns. He can't be taken down more than 3 times in this fight. I think he's going to have the energy and the strength to get up 2 or 3 times. After that, Islam is going to keep him there and likely going to finish him via submission. And that is actually going to be my final prediction. I think Volkanovski is going to get taken down in the first, get back up, taken down in the second, get back up. And I think Islam Makhachev is going to win both of those rounds and finish him via submission in the 3rd round.
That's a great prediction. And the one thing that sticks out to me about the takedown and the takedown defense is the mentality of it. So if you are a wrestler and you go out there and you try to take your opponent down and they end up shucking you off or they end up sprawling really good and you don't get that takedown, it can be demoralizing. And then if you go in there another time and do it, it's like even worse. And then every time you don't hit your takedown, you're mentally just getting checked out. And then eventually your shots start looking more desperate. They are easier for the person to read. And now they've got your timing down and they can start to score on your entrances. Same thing can be said for the person that's defending the takedown. If you go and you've trained a lot of takedown defense for this entire camp, and then as soon as the guy comes in and tries to take you down, you get taken down, that can be a bit demoralizing. And then if you are able to get up and then immediately after that, they're tripping you and putting you back on the ground, eventually you can start to almost give up on yourself. And it's just like, what do I got to do to get this guy off of me besides wait for this round to end? So the battle between these 2 guys is going to take place mentally. And I know they're both mentally as sharp as you're going to get, and they're very tough. But if Islam gets stuffed a couple of times, he's going to start to make his shots a little bit less impressive and probably a little bit easier for Volk to read. And same thing can be said for Volkanovski. If Islam shoots on him and he doesn't stop it, he's going to start to question everything he did in this training camp, which, as he said, was specifically to deal with Islam Makhachev and these takedowns.
Well said. Thanks for watching this video, guys. We're your hub for all things combat sports. If that's your jam, we appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video, and drop us a comment down below. We'll see you next time.
Peace.